Welcome to Excel tutorial. Today, I'll teach you how I upgraded my budget by Paycheck template. So here, this template comes with multiple tabs and also a dashboard with the required graphs. I'll teach you how I upgraded this template from scratch. Let's get started. Here is how my budget overview dashboard will look like. So first I have the overview, so the start date and end date of the complete dashboard. And then I have different tables for income, savings, bills, expenses. And at the top, I also have the required graphs. So all these income, savings, bills are actually entered in our input sheet. So here you can see in our input data sheet, I have all my income categories, my saving categories, bills, expense, and debt. So from this sheet, we are trying to get all our data into the dashboard sheet. And also we have our transactions. Here we can completely enter all our transactions over here. So I'm going to teach you from scratch how I have built this template. Let's get started. So I have opened a new Excel sheet. So here first I'll name this as input data, and I'll come to the top and then I'll completely select this. I'll say merge center and I'll say input data. I'll increase the size of this and make this bold, and also I'll fill this with the color. First I'm going to have my income. So I'll try to combine these two cells together and I'll say income. I'll little bit increase the width of this column. So here I'll make this bold and I'll do the formatting for this. So below this one, I can enter all my income categories. So whatever is going to be my income, I can enter all these categories. So I'll say main job, then I can say some freelance work, and then I'll say income category 1. So like this, I can have some different income categories. Next, I'll come and do it for savings. So I'll merge this. I'll say savings. I'll increase the width of this table. So here I'll do the formatting for this. And I'll fill this with the color. So here I can have all my savings. So let's say general savings. Then let's say I'm going to have some savings for education. And then I'll say it as saving category 1. So like this, we can have multiple categories over. So next I'll come for the bills. So I'll try to combine these two cells and then I'll say bills. And then here we'll have a due date for the bill also. So I'll say due. I'll increase the width of this particular column. So I'll also do the formatting for this. I'll make this bold, increase size, and I'll fill this with the color. So below this one, we can have all our bills. So I'll say Wi-Fi, the due date is going to be first, let's say, and then I'm going to have electricity bill. So the due date is going to be 5th. And then I'll say bills category. And we can have multiple categories below this. Next, I'll come for the expenses. I'll merge and center. So I'll say expenses. And I'll increase the size and I'll do the formatting. So here I can list down all my expenses. Let's say I'm going to have my expense is going to be food, then rent, and I'll have expense categories. So like this, we can have some multiple expenses. So finally, I'll come for the debt. So I'll merge and center. And then here we'll also have the due date for that. So I'll select this. I'll do the formatting. So here I'll say credit card, and then the due date is going to be 1st. And then let me say personal loan. So it's going to be 5th of every month. So like this, we can have some debt categories also. So I'll try to fill in till category 3. So here is my complete input data where I have different categories like income, savings, bills, expense, debt. Inside income, I have a main job, freelance, and others. And for savings like this, we have created this. Now, I'll go and create a new sheet called as transactions. So in this sheet, we'll have a complete transaction. So I'll try to select this. I'll merge center and here I'll say transactions. And I'll make this, I'll increase the size, make it bold, and I'll fill this with the color. So in our transactions table, so first I'll have the date. Then I'm going to have the value. So next, the category. Next, I'll have the subcategory. And at last, I'll have the details. So I'll a little bit adjust these columns. So I'll completely select this. I'll make this bold and also increase size, and then I'll fill this the background color. So in this transactions table, what we'll be doing is we'll be entering all our transactions. So for example, here the category can be income, savings, all these are categories, and subcategory can be inside the income we have main job, freelance, all these can be subcategories, and then we can enter the value, and then with the date we can have all our transactions inside this transaction table. Now let me go and create the third sheet. I'll name the sheet as budget overview. So first we'll go and have the title of the sheet. So I'll completely select this. I'll say merge center. So I'll say budget overview. We'll increase size for this title, and I'll make this bold, and also I'll fill this with this color. So first we'll have our overview over here. So I'll just say this overview, and we can select our dates over here. So first I'll have the start date, and here I'll have the end date. So now I'll select all this. I'll make this bold, and also I'll increase size. Here I'll fill in with the color, and these two also I'll fill this with this color. So here I can have my complete start date and end date. Let's say the start date is going to be 1st Jan 2025 to I'm going to have till 31st July 2025. So this is going to be my start and end date. So I'll completely select this, and then I'll draw the borders for this. Next, let me give some space at the top, and then we'll come and create our tables over here. So first we'll have the income table. So I'll combine these three cells together, and then I'll say income. So below this one, I'll have the planned value and the actual value. So first, let me try to select this, make this bold, increase size, and I'll fill this with this color. And for this, I'll fill this with a different color. So here I'll a little bit adjust this column. So here what we are going to do is, we are going to have all our income subcategories, whatever we have entered in the input data table. So I'm going to say is equal to, if I'll open the brackets. So here I'll go to the input data, and then this is my subcategory set. So if this cell is going to be empty, so that's going to be the condition. If it's going to be empty, I'll say no value. So just opening and closing quotations. So if it is going to be false, what I'll do is I will have the same cell in that particular place. So I'll close the brackets. So now when I enter, you can see I'm getting the main job over here. So I'll try to drag it here till here. See, I'm getting all the values. So whatever subcategories I had in the input data sheet, so the complete thing I'm having it over here. So next we can have the planned. So how much we are going to plan for this? So let's say the main job is going to be $2,000, and freelance, let's keep it at $600. So like this, we can enter the planned value. Now we'll come and calculate the actual value. So the actual value is nothing but, in case if there are any transactions inside the transaction sheet, so we need to sum up this value, and then we need to say this over here. Here also you need to consider that it should be within this range. So whether the transaction date should be within this range, and it should be equal to the main job. That means here if the transaction, the subcategory should be also equal to the main job. So we need to find the complete actual value. So here I'm going to say is equal to, and then I'll say if error. I'll open the brackets. So here I'll be using the sumifs function. Since there are multiple conditions over here, first I need to select the sum range. So the sum range is nothing but it's going to be the value. So I'll completely select this value over here. So then, so in my formula, I'll give a comma. So next is I need to select the criteria range. So the criteria is going to be first criteria. Let's have the date should be greater than our start date. So the date over here completely I'll select. I'll give comma, and then inside the quotations I'll say greater than or equal to. It should be the start date. So I'll come to the budget overview, and then I'll select the start date cell over here. So and I'll close the quotations. Now I'll give comma, and we need to enter the criteria 2. So what is going to be the criteria range 2? That is also going to be similarly in the transactions table. Same, we are going to have the date. So I'll select the date completely. Then I'll give comma. Inside the quotations I'll say less than or equal to, it should be from the end date. Right, so I'll come to budget overview. So here is our end date. So I'll select the cell, and I'll close the double quotations. The third criteria range is nothing but it should be equal to the main job. So I'll go to transactions. So here I'll completely select the subcategory. So I'll give comma. So inside the quotations, I'll say equal to, come to the budget overview. So here I'll select this main job cell. So now I'll close the quotations. I'll close the brackets. I'll give comma. If there is going to be any value over here, it will show, or else I'll give it as 0 and then I'll close it. So now when I press enter, I'm getting the value as 0 over here. So because there is no transactions in a transaction table, that's why I'm getting the value 0. Also, we can try to go and flash fill this formula. So before that, I'll do the absolute referencing. So I'll try to do the absolute referencing for all the cells. So except for the main job, the last one, whatever we have done, so other things are going to remain the same. So it's going to be constant. So I'll do the absolute referencing over here. So only for this B22 we have given. So only for this cell, it will automatically change. So other than that, we can do the absolute referencing. So I'll try to flash fill this. I'm getting it 0 over here because there are no transactions. Now I'll come and calculate the total. So total is going to be equal to, I'll say sum of all the planned values over here. And here it's going to be sum of all the actual values. So I'll select this and then I'll press enter. We can also change this to US dollar formatting. So I'll change it. So the sum also I'll go and change it. I'll select the total completely and I'll fill this with this color and make this bold, and also I'll increase size. So now this is for the income table. Now let's try to do for the savings table similarly. So this is going to be a little bit similar. So I'll just copy it. I'll paste this here. So I'll adjust the columns. Now here I need to say, so I'll call this as savings, and here we need to try to get all the subcategories below our savings. So I'll be using the if formula. So is equal to if. I'll open the brackets. So similarly, I'll come over here. So if the cell is going to be empty, so that is going to be the condition. So there'll be no value, or else the same cell I'll select it. So I'll press enter. We'll get the value. Similarly, I'll try to flash fill. So we've got all our saving categories. So we can have some planned. So let's say I'm going to plan $500 as general savings, and for education, let's keep it $250. So now we need to go and calculate the actual value. So the actual value is going to be the same formula what we have used for the income. So the only thing which is going to change is that the last value. So whatever we have given at the last. So here the cell we have given B22, right? So only that is going to change. Other than that, it's going to be the same. I'll try to copy this formula and then I'll try to come here and then paste it. So here I'll go, and what I'll do is I'll go and change only the B22. So instead of this B22, I'll select F22. Okay, so here I'm just changing it and then I'll press enter. So here I'm getting 0. So since there are no transactions, so I'll try to flash fill. Now let's try to find out the total. It's going to be equal to sum of all the planned values, and the actual value is going to be is equal to sum of all the actual values. So I'll select this, I'll highlight it, I'll make this bold, and also I'll increase size. Now we have completed for 2 tables. So the third table is nothing but we have the bills. So here, let me go for the bills, and then, so it's going to be similar. So I'll just paste this. So here I'll say bills, and I'll adjust the width of this column. So here we need to fetch the subcategories from the input data. I'll say is equal to if. I'll open the brackets and then I'll go to input data. So here this is going to be the first cell. I'll select it. If it is going to be empty, I'll have no value. If this condition is going to become false, I'll select the same cell and I'll enter. So I'll get the Wi-Fi, and similarly I'll flash fill. I'll get all the values. Now for the plan, let's say for Wi-Fi, I'm going to plan $50, and for electricity, let's keep it at $120. So for the actual, so what we need to do is the same formula, whatever we have used, I'll just copy. We need to go and change the last one. So I'll go here and then change from F22 to, so this cell is going to be J22. So I'll select this, I'll press enter, and I'll try to flash fill. Now we'll come and find the total. So total is going to be equal to sum of all the planned values, and here it's going to be equal to sum of all the actual values. I'll do it and I'll select it, make it bold, increase size, and also I'll format it. So next table is going to be our expense table. So I'll select this and paste it here. So it's going to be expense. I'll increase the width of this column. So here I need to have all the expense subcategories. So I'll say if I'll go to input data. So here this is going to be empty. I'll have no value, or else I'll have the same expense value. I'll press enter. So I'm getting it over here. So I'll try to flash fill this completely. And then I'll plan for food. Let's say I'm going to plan $240 and for rent $600. And now we'll come to the actual. So it's going to be the same formula. So I'll just try to copy and paste this formula. So the last we'll go and change the cell. So I'll go to the last and then it's going to be the food. So N22. I'll select it. I'll press enter and I'll also try to flash fill. So here we'll calculate the total. So it's going to be is equal to sum of all the plan values. And here it's going to be sum of all the actual values. So this is my total. I'll format this. Now I'll come to the last table. That's going to be my debt. So here I'll copy this, paste it. So here I'll have debt and I'll increase the width of this column. So here I'll say if, and then I'll try to get the subcategories from a input data sheet. So if this condition is going to be equal to, there's no value, we'll have no value. So if this condition is going to become false, I'll have the word credit card over that. So I'll flash fill this. So for credit card, let's plan it $350. And for personal loan, let's say $200. And the actual value, so the same formula, I'll try to have it over here. And then I'll go and change the last criteria loan. It's going to be credit card. So I'll select this and I'll press enter and I'll try to flash fill. Now let's try to find the total for our debt. So it's equal to sum of all the planned values over here. And it's going to be the sum of all the actual values. So now I have completed for all the 5 tables. You can see income, savings, bills, expense and debt. Also, I'll try to format this. I'll increase size and make it bold. So now we'll come to the top and then we'll do the dashboard. So here, let me say I'm going to have an overview. So I'll try to merge and center. So I'll say overview over here. And then here I'll have the planned value. And then here I'm going to have the actual value. So I'll try to highlight this. Here I'll try to also highlight this. So I'll select this, make this bold, and also I'll increase size. So here, first I'll have the rollover. So rollover is nothing but in case if we are having any other funds from the past, we can try to add that funds over here. So that's what is rollover. Next, I'll have the income saved. And I'll have the income spent. And at last, I'll have the debt paid off. So now let's try to fill in the values for this table. So here for rollover, I'll try to have it as $1,000 is what I have planned. And let's say the income. So here the income is nothing but whatever planned total income we have, that should be there. So I'll say is equal to, so this set. So it's going to be, this is going to be my total income. So now the income saved. So whatever income I have saved, I need to enter over here. So it's nothing but, it's going to be equal to, so in the savings table, I have the income, right? So I'll select this. So this is going to be my income. Next, so the income spent. So here the income spent is nothing but bills and expenses. Both comes under the spend category. So here what I'll do is, I'll try to say this cell plus the expenses planned. So this is going to be my income spent. And at last, how much debt has been paid off. So that here we have the planned value. So I'll say that's going to be equal to, so this value I'll select it. So I'll press enter, we'll get this value. Now we'll come for the actual value. So actual value, let's keep this as 0. And for income, let's say that the actual value is going to be is equal to, so here whatever actual value we have in the income table, I'll select this. Now for income saved here, so in the saved, we'll have the actual value. So I'll select the total of actual value. Now for the income spent, it's going to be equal to, so the bills actual value plus it's going to be the expense actual value. So I'll select this. And for last, for debt paid off, So here I'll have this actual value. So this is going to be the values over here. Now I'll just try to make this bold, and also I'll format all these things as US dollars. So you can see we'll have this as US dollars. Here also we'll have this as US dollars. Now I'll calculate how much amount will be left in hand. So I'll say left. I'll try to completely highlight this. So there's going to be one of the key pointer over here. So I'll highlight this. So rollover and income, we can try to add these two together. And income saved is, again, we have allocated this for some savings. And then the income spent is also we have spent some value. And at last the debt paid off also we have given that value. So here the formula is going to be nothing but, so rollover plus my income subtracted by, and I'll have this, that is going to be income saved plus my income spent plus my debt paid off. So now I'll close this bracket. So now when I press enter, you can see this is my leftover value. So the same formula will be applicable over here also. So I'll say is equal to, so it's going to be rollover plus the income subtracted by, so I'll have the income saved actual value and the income spent actual value and the debt paid off. So I'll close the brackets. So here it is 0 since we don't have any transactions. Now let me try to go and create some graphs for this dashboard. First, let me try to create a graph for the planned and actual value for the complete table over here. So I'll select this data, I'll go to insert, and then let me create a 2D column chart. So here is my chart. So you can see the blue color is nothing but the planned value, the orange color is actual value. Since we don't have any actual values, any transactions, that is why the orange color is not there. So I'll first try to go and change the chart title as planned versus actual, and I'll also change the color theme to our color theme. This one also I'll change it to this color. So now this is my complete planned versus actual graph. So from this you can see, so the income is higher, there is like $1,000 rollover we have, so the planned values, and then we have the income saved, income spent, and debt paid off. So all these visually we can try to see from this graph. Now I'll try to create a graph for income, savings, bills, and expense. So here below, I'll just try to go a little bit below. So here, let me have a small table. So I'll say income, then we have savings, then we have our bills and expense, and finally our debt. So I'll have this. So here what I'm going to do is I'm creating this table just for creating the graph. So I'll have the planned value for this. So I'll have the planned and the actual value. So here first what I'll do is, it's nothing but equal to, so there's the planned value. So here I'll say is equal to, we have this save, this is going to be the planned value. And for bills, so I'll select this cell. And similarly for expense, so I'll select this. And for debt, I'll select this cell. Similarly, I'll go and try to select for the actual values also. So I'll say this. For savings, I'll say this. And for bills, it's this cell. And for expense, I'll select this. Finally, for debt, I'll select this. So now we have the completely the planned value. I'll just try to create a table. So I'll completely select this. I'll go to insert, and then let me create a pie chart for this. So here is a pie chart. So with the help of this pie chart, we can see like where we are trying to have our most of the wealth. So let's say whether for income is higher, or savings, bills, expense, or debt. Here I'll add the chart title. So let me call this as breakdown. So since we are trying to break down all our important tables over here, so I'll have this, and then maybe we can have this format. So I'll have this below, down over here. So this one I'll try to a little bit move to the top. So if I want to show the percentage on these, I can go to add chart label. So I'll have the labels over here. So we can see all the labels, and so we can even go and change the chart design to like this. And then if you want our legend to be at the bottom, we can have it at the bottom. Here is how we can have the breakdown of our income, savings, bills, expense, and debt. So I'll also go and change the color according to a color theme. So I'll try to fill this color with the theme colors. So I have completely changed the color for a chart. So with this, you can easily say that like 53% is like our income, and then you can see how much is going to be a savings, our expense, bills, everything you'll be able to see with this complete breakdown chart. Now let's try to create one more chart. So here we'll try to create a chart for bills versus expense. So I'll try to select this. I'll go to insert and then I'll create a 2D pie chart. So here you can see how much we are spending. So the spending is going to be how much is for bills and how much is for expense. So from this we'll be able to easily see this. So I'll say planned expense. So I'll change the chart title to this, and then also the color, we can go and change it to our theme colors. So here is my planned expense chart. So from this one, you can see the majority of this is going for the expense. That's like for food, rent we are having, and there's a small percentage which is going for my bills. So with the help of this chart, we'll be able to summarize this. So this is how my budget by paycheck dashboard will look like. We can create the complete dashboard and then customize it for the particular months over here. So we can try to have from which start date to end date, we'll have a complete income, savings, bills, expense and debt, complete tables, and whatever transaction has happened, also we'll get it over here, and then we'll also get the graph. So if you're looking to use this budget by paycheck template, I've given this link in the description. You can try to go and download it from there. Also, I have created many templates for tracking your personal finance, like the net worth tracker, sinking funds tracker, debt tracker, bill calendar, and many more. If you are looking to download these templates, you can visit my website plrduck.com and then you can try to download this from my website. The great thing is that these templates are available for both Excel and Google Sheets. And it also comes with master resale rights and commercial rights, where you can try to edit these templates and then share it with as many people you like. I hope you would have liked this video. Please like this video and subscribe our channel for more such content. Thanks for watching this tutorial. I'll see you in another Excel or Google Sheet tutorial.